What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Jake here, aka BrusHstroKeZ, and today I thought I'd bring you a video on lettering some valve covers. Now, this is the first set I've ever done. It's got the raised Chevrolet lettering on it. As you can see, I did do one of them already, and I learned a few things while doing that. So I thought I'd make a video for you guys and show you some tips and tricks that I learned to make this a little easier for you. So let's get into it. All right, so first thing I really want to discuss is paint on this project. So the customer actually painted the valve covers himself. Just used some rattle can Chevy orange and some rattle can clear coat. I mean, they turned out okay, but that's going to make a difference in what kind of paint I chose to use on this, because there are two different kinds of pinstriping paint. We have your lettering enamels. So this is an enamel paint. This is Ronin. Some other ones, you got One Shot is also an enamel paint. Alpha enamel is also an enamel paint. Roth pinstriping paint, that is also an enamel. Those are what I would suggest using on this project, because you also have urethane pinstriping paint. But with urethane pinstriping paint, if you're doing it on top of clear coat, where it's not going to be cleared over to be protected, you do have to add hardener to this. And since this is painted already by the customer, and it is, a 1K product, adding hardener to urethane paint really makes it aggressive, makes it really bite into the surface. And I don't want that for this project, because if I make a mistake or something, try to wipe it off, it could really eat into this paint and wreck the paint on here. So I chose to use some of my Ronin enamels. Customer wanted this a light gray, the lettering to be light gray, kind of match the heads, the aluminum heads on the motor. So I mixed these black and white up to get some gray. Here's a color that I mixed up for this. So, and then I'm going to be using, this is the Mac Virus. It's kind of all, lettering's all worn off. But this is a Mac Virus #2 brush. I suggest using a brush that's not wider than this. So this brush, once it's paletted up with paint, it is a little over half the thickness of that. Obviously you can make that thicker by pushing harder, but this brush seemed to be the perfect size for this. Now on the other one, I did it all. I just kind of went freehand and did it all. I did notice with this raised lettering, sometimes the brush wants to dance off the edge, and it's a little hard to make sure you get a straight line, because the brush kind of wants to wander on that edge a little bit. So what I did, kind of like the last little part on that first valve cover I did, I actually just taped off that bottom edge to help me get it, straight and make it a lot easier on myself. So what I used, just some 1/8 inch. This is some tape by Custom Creative. This is the orange, and it is like a stiffer tape. It doesn't bend, doesn't do like really tight curves. So first thing, we're going to tape off this bottom edge, and then we are actually going to tape off the top edge of that writing as well. And we'll just go ahead and knock all that out here first. So go ahead and do that. Sorry if you're having a look at my head right now. Just know I'm trying to lay this as straight as possible. A little bit up on the raised part. just like that. Then we're going to do the same thing on this top edge as well. Now with this top edge, since it's going to go over the letters too, kind of want to push it down around those raised spots. That way the tape's not lifted up and you don't get some run through, which might happen anyway. We'll just have to see. And I'm sure you're looking at the back of my head right now, so apologize for that. Try to move out of the way, but really need to see what I'm doing here. Like I said, make sure you get that tape pushed down all the way around. Around these letters here. That way we don't get any bleed through. All right. Of there for you guys. It's going to be kind of hard. Let's see here. There we go. So one thing I learned with this too, you want your paint to be as thick as possible, because with that raised lettering, it has it, when you thin it out, it has a tendency to bleed down more. So I'm using my paint straight out of the bottle. I'm not reducing it at all. I may have to do it a little bit on this one, as my paint's been sitting out for a little while, so it's thickened up a little bit. But if I do need any reducer at all, I'm gonna only dip like that much of the tip into reducer. I don't know how well you can see that. Just the very tip. Just a very, very minimal amount of reducer. So I guess I can bring this over here, or maybe you can see it, my palette. So I'm just going to dip my brush in here and then palette it out on this magazine here. Just taking a couple dips in there. We'll just go ahead and get it paletted out. Want to make sure brush gets paint in all those hairs. Paint is pretty thick, but like I said, I prefer having it thick for this, just because, well, we don't want it running over that edge at all. And I'm not just going to be globbing this on here. I am going to be practicing, making sure to try to keep it straight along one edge or the other at all times too. And when I get close to the lettering there, I want to make sure you stop, not go over it. The H and the R have, little open sections. So Load my brush up again. We're just going to look through, make sure we got up tight along that whole edge. Missed a little spot there. It's looking good. So now that we did the bottom, we used our tape. We do want to pull the tape right away, because the weight of that paint is going to kind of come down. We don't want it to make an edge along that, like a build up on the edge of the tape. So we'll go ahead and remove this. You want to be careful when doing this as well, that you don't get any paint on your project. Even in doing it this way, there are a couple little spots that need a little touch up. But looks pretty good. So now we're going to go ahead and do that top edge. It does look like my tape is a little bit off in a few spots. Looks like I get a little wide here. So I'm just going to use that as kind of a guide. I'm not probably going to go up to the edge of it. So we're basically going to be freehanding that part of this. Yes, this is kind of cheating, but just makes it easier. Hopefully makes it a little cleaner as well. Honestly, doesn't matter how you paint. It's just how you get the job done. You can use as many tips and tricks and helpful things as possible to get you the job done and done the way you want it. Again, sorry if you have to see the back of my head. Can't tell what the camera's seeing right now. If you can't see the back of my head, let me know if I'm going bald yet or not. Obviously I can't see the back of my head, so I am to that age, past the age of balding. If anyone's wondering, I am 43 years old. All right. Once again, we'll want to pull the tape right away and kind of see how I'm pulling it at an angle away from it. That's how you kind of want to always pull your tape, no matter what you're doing. Because if you pull it this way, you're pulling it into the tape. You could pull some of your paint with you. So just pull it at an angle. There we go. So as far as tips and tricks go, it's basically all I had. So we're just going to go into the rest of this and fill it all in. It does help me to move it around where I can pull the brush instead of pushing it, up or pulling it sideways. I like doing it where I can just pull the brush, feel I get a lot steadier line doing that. So I probably will speed up the rest of this video so you don't have to, so I don't bore you with it, but go ahead and get this finished up. So Alright, so I did make a little mistake on this R right in there. I forgot to push my tape down on that bottom, so it bled through a little bit. So what I'm going to use is this little eraser tool. I'm just going to push the paint back into itself. And when you do that, I get a little paper towel with some thinner on it. That way I can wipe that paint off of this. You want to do that before each time you do this. Now, if this was urethane paint, probably would have ate up this orange and left us with a big old chunk missing right there. We don't want to do that. Then this whole thing would have to be repainted and re-lettered. I'm going to probably touch it up a little bit more, but there you have it. All done. Except for a few little touch-ups here and there. Kind of even out the lettering on the edges. That's all I had for you this video. Until the next one, keep those brushes stroking.